What's happening, people? Welcome back to Behind the Dugouts for a transfer news roundup video. Taking a bunch of information, I've chucked it all together. We're going to discuss it. Some good, some bad. There's even a little bit of a disappointing piece, which I'd love to get your opinions on later in the video. But of course, it's June 1st, right? This is the day, official day, that Xabi Alonso takes charge of this team. He becomes the manager. Business needs to start now. We need to get the ball rolling. The players that we want out, we need to get them out. The players that we want in, we need to get in. And fingers crossed still that we go for the right players. Now, it's the summer window, right? The biggest window of the year. It's nuts. If you can kick a football, you're probably being linked. This is what it is, right? But we are going to start in the Premier League. You know, there's been lots made about Prem-proven players. There is a particular team that did get relegated this year, and it looks like there's going to be a bit of a flash sale, a bit of fire sale. All these players are going to be on what you would consider a cut price deal because they need to generate funds, and that team is West Ham. And the player that we are basically interested in, this is what the reports are coming out, is Jarrod Bowen. Let's take a little look. Chelsea are weighing up a move for Jarrod Bowen. They are not the only suitors, and their belief is that Jarrod Bowen could be available on a value deal. West Ham would want around 50 million. We've also got this piece from Vince. West Ham would want around 50 million for Jarrod Bowen. Industry figures believing competing clubs will try to get a deal for around 40 million. Now, before I give you my thoughts on this, get in the comments below. Would you take Jarrod Bowen? Would you not? Let me know why. But I think a big key part of what was said in this is he could be purchased for a deal, right? We talk about market opportunities, and we've had this with quite a few of our players. Could this be seen as a market opportunity? I mean, I think he got about 20 goal involvements last season, so not terrible numbers for a team that was relegated, and he's done it consistently, years and years in a row. He's not, and this is probably where you're going to get like a split down the middle, right? The fan base is 50% will probably say, yeah, we take him. Look at what we've got at the moment. Is he better? Yes. Others, well, he's not what we need. He's not the first team star that's going to, set the world on fire, right? Why would we want him? Why are we even linked with him? And I get it. I understand it. But the way I'm looking at it, would I take Jarrod Bowen for 40 million as a depth option? Do I think he would provide more attacking output than a Garnacho, than a Gittins, than even a Pedro Neto? Yes, I do. So would he be better as a depth option than those three players? Yes, he would. And he would cost 40 million. If he can produce 20 goal involvements for us, bring a little bit more Premier League experience and a little bit more, leadership he would be considered one of the leaders at West Ham. Different kettle of fish walking into a Chelsea team, of course. But he does bring a bit of experience. He's not another young kid that we don't know what to expect from him. We've seen what he can do in the league, and we're not the only big club. Liverpool's been linked with him in the past. I wouldn't be surprised if the likes of Man United and stuff were looking at him previously. So as an option, as a squad depth player, yes, I would take him. I think he would suit us well. I think he would do well for us, but not as a first team star. This is not a signing that I would say would be my marquee signing for the summer. That would be my marquee winger signing for the summer. I would still expect us, if we're going out to get a Jarrod Bowen, that we still get another that is levels above him, that is probably going to cost double, if not more, than what he would, in my opinion. But like I said, get in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on Jarrod Bowen. Would you take him? Would you not? Get in the comments below. One of the wingers that I would like at this football club, and if you haven't gone and checked out my video over on the Stamford Zinc with Matt and Blues and Stripes over there, we did a little dream signing kind of thing, 5 players in, 5 players out, and one of my players was a winger. and that is Rafael Leao. And there's some reports coming out in Italy that are quite interesting. Let's take a little look. Rafael Leao has decided to leave AC Milan. Being reported by Fabrizio, I am proud as I've made history at AC Milan, but I want a new chapter. I feel I'm ready to play in another league. I did my best for Milan, but it's time to try another challenge. This is the kind of player that I would be looking at. This is the kind of winger, especially on that left-hand side. We need an overhaul on that left-hand side. This is a player that I would be looking at. And to be honest, like, we've been linked with him in the past, a couple of years back, maybe even in the summer. And we were quoted 100 plus. You're not getting quoted that now. Guaranteed it. Maybe between 60 and 80 at a push. Euros, obviously, not pounds. I think Milan would take a cut price because the player here, it's not I'm flirting with it to try and get maybe a pay boost from Milan or that kind of situation. He has blatantly said, I want to leave. I want to try a new challenge. Is the same as handing in a transfer request, basically. This is what he has done publicly. So he wants to leave. He is available. Of course, with a player like this, we're not going to be the only ones. Like most players, I think Galatasaray have already tried to, entice him over. Not too sure that's the kind of step that he wants to be taking right now. I still think he's got a lot more years in him. I think he's like 26, maybe 27 at the push, coming into his prime. He's still got a lot to give. He's explosive. He's good 1v1. He's a good finisher. He can play as a striker if we needed it as an option. He's done it for Milan. I think he would be a quality winger, and I think he would do bits in the Premier League, especially with his speed. Do I think we would go from him? This is what I would also consider a market opportunity, considering that he's not being pushed for 100 million right now. Like, if you can get him for around 60 million, 50 million, this has got to be a bargain, right? Considering we paid 55 million for Jamie Gittins, we paid 40 million or 35 million for Garnacho. It would be a good bit of business, but do I think we would go for him? No, I don't think so. As much as I'd like him to come, I also feel the club would see this as there's going to be a bit of a bidding war going on. Like, I can see a lot of clubs. I've seen reports today that Man United are interested in Rafael Leao. Because of missing out on Champions League football, because the finances are a little bit tighter than we would have wanted it to be, it makes getting into a bidding war very, very difficult. Do I think his wages would be a problem? No. I think we can easily, cover his wages, and I don't think the transfer fee would be a problem. But you get into a bidding war, it becomes a bit more complicated. So we'll have to see how this one transpires. Would you take Rafael Leao on the team? I certainly would. But get in the comments if not. And if you wouldn't take him, let me know who you would. Love to see that one. Now, moving on into a different position. A centre-back position. A player that has just won Champions League back-to-back. Football had been restored. Arsenal, champions of Europe, you'll never sing that. Never. But Marquinhos is coming out that he wants to leave, that his time is coming up. 32-year-old Brazilian centre-back. Got a Brazilian centre-back from them before, didn't we? Let's take a little look. Marquinhos, 32, will be allowed to leave PSG this summer. The Brazilian has gone off the idea of a move to Saudi Arabia, but would be open to a move to Qatar. Interesting. 32. It's back end of the career. Not as old as Thiago Silva was when we got him from PSG, but obviously the back end of his career. But I'd say you still get another 4 or 5 years out of Marquinhos, even at the top level. Now, of course, Qatar, Saudi, these are what have been mentioned at the moment. But could there be an opportunity? Experienced, quality centre back. Shout out to Blues and Stripes on this one, because he did mention about bringing Marquinhos in. Brazilian. I think this could be a very, very good option. If he's being allowed to leave, I don't see this being as super expensive, especially with his age. His wages, I'm not too particular on. I don't know how much he's on at the moment. If you do, let me know in the comments. But for a player like this, I think if you can get a cut price transfer deal on it, you could subsidise the wages, right? If you're getting him for 30 million cheaper than what you thought you would, you can pay a little bit more in the wages side. I don't think we're going to break the bank on wages, nor would I want to break the bank on a player sort of coming to the latter parts of their career. But it's certainly a player that would bring everything that we would want in the centre back. Has played in a team that plays out from the back, plays good attacking football, he's leadership, everything, international football. He's got all the qualities we would want in a centre back. Would we go from him? I'd like to think this is a player that we would look at. I really do. It's definitely a player that we would thrive at bringing in, right? Imagine having Marquinhos slotted alongside a Levi Colwill, another Brazilian, another older centre-back that's been around, that's winning trophies, that he can learn off, that's been under a manager like Luis Enrique for quite a few seasons now, playing alongside a Levi Colwill. We hear Trevor Chalobah talk about the experience and the, just how Thiago Silva helped nurture him to be a better centre-back. I could see Marquinhos doing a very similar sort of thing, not just with Levi Colwill, but you talk about the likes of Hato that plays centre-back now and again, the likes of Joseph Achiampong that plays in this position, even Trevor Chalobah, if he is to remain at the club, and I hope he does. They will all learn off Marquinhos and his experience and his qualities, and pick up on his good habits, and hopefully he can get rid of some of those bad habits that some of our centre-backs do have. I think this would be a great signing. I think this would be a perfect player for us. It always comes down to the age thing, right? We've bought fetuses and young kids for years and years and years, and eventually we hope it would change. This could be the summer. It could be. I'm really, really holding out hope for the change. And I'd love to go for a player like Marquinhos. Let me know in the comments below. Would you take Marquinhos in this Chelsea side? Right, now moving into another defensive position. Right back. And it's not Reece James. Malo Gusto. A player that, walked onto the scene when Poch took over. And basically made us not miss James while he was out injured. He produced in a brilliant season under Poch. Brilliant. And then it all went downhill. So fast. First season under Maresca, awful. Awful. Made you question, why is he even a footballer? Roll into the second season, a little bit better, but still nowhere near the levels of what we expect at this football club. Nowhere near the levels he himself hit under Pochettino. And it looks like his time could be coming to an end at Chelsea. He is one that divides opinions amongst the fans. Some want to keep him, some don't want to keep him. But there looks like there could be some potential suitors, potential teams that might want to take Malo Gusto off our hands. Two of them being Bayern Munich and Man City. Let's take a look. Manchester City and Bayern Munich have both made inquiries about Chelsea defender Malo Gusto after being alerted to the possibility that the Chelsea fullback could become available this summer. Enzo Maresca, who worked closely with Gusto during his time at Chelsea, and sources indicate he remains a huge advocate of the defender's abilities. The Italian believes Gusto possesses the technical and tactical attributes required to thrive within his system, and has maintained a strong appreciation for the player. But I'm not surprised in this. I don't think there was any animosity. I think Malo Gusto loved Enzo Maresca, even though he was basically a utility player. Enzo Maresca would put him anywhere and everywhere because he says it there, right? Maresca believed he was technically and tactically good enough to do all those positions. Now, we saw otherwise, and we saw the vulnerabilities, the liabilities that he did bring to the team, and still to this day does, especially from a defensive point of view. But I could see I could see Malo Gusto going to City if Maresca was to get the job. It's pretty much nailed on. It just hasn't been announced yet. It's been talked about back last year that he was the eventual, not successor, but the replacement for Pep Guardiola, because he's not going to reach the heights of Pep, let's be real. The Bayern Munich link, I could see it, but I don't think that one's going to happen. I don't think there's too much weight behind that one, but the Man City one, definitely a reunite between player and manager. I don't think Malo Gusto's particularly happy. Would we as fans cry about it if he was to leave? Look, I don't think so. I think as long as we replaced him with the right caliber of player, better, that improves the squad, that is not just another youngster that we need to try and hope turns good again, I think we would all be pretty much happy to replace Malo Gusto. Not gonna lie, it is one of those that he's probably going to go somewhere else and just turn into this absolute worldie, because there are qualities in Gusto, right? I think his energy is brilliant. I think he provides a lot of the teams in certain areas, but you do question him in the key areas like his defensive awareness in some occasions, and especially, if we are going to play wing backs, do I think he's going to pop up with assists and goals over a course of a season? From what I've seen, no. He seems to hit and hope with his crosses, and he scores a goal. Well, I can't even say a goal once in a blue moon. He scored one goal in the last 3 years. Like, he's not that kind of player. He's not going to be that clinical attacking wing back like Xavi Alonso had at Leverkusen with, Jeremy Frimpong. So I would be sad to see him go, but I also wouldn't be clutching to keep him, especially if we're going to replace him with better. But let me know your thoughts on Malo Gusto in the comments below. We're going to finish on something I would say a little bit disappointing, and not disappointing from the club, more so on the player side. Take a look at this. This is Kendry Páez and his potential termination of his loan move at River Plate. River Plate may terminate the loan of Kendry Páez. The coach is not happy. The coach sees a lack of commitment, doesn't like Kennedy's behaviour on and off the pitch. The coach has criticised his lack of discipline and not giving his all in training. Look, this is... It's disappointing, right? Because I think part of the reason why he's in this situation, and I'm not going to put the blame fully on this, but it does play a significant part. When you give young players, and especially him, I think he was, 16, 17 when we purchased him and started this whole loaning career for him. You're giving him some big wages. He's at a big football club, and he is now having to deal with all that as a young kid. He's barely been in adult world. It's difficult. It's difficult for these players to handle. They don't know how to act. They might not have the right people behind them or the right support system for them to be able to deal with this and to be able to manage it. And then you've got the sending them out on loan to here and there. He's been to quite a few clubs. He's been at Strasbourg, obviously River Plate. I think he was at, he went back to the club that we initially purchased him for. The club has gone out of my mind for the moment, but there's a lot of moving around, and as a young kid, probably not moving with his family, maybe one of his parents, it becomes tough. But then I look at the player's side, right, and he is living the dream that many kids, including myself, maybe even some of you behind the camera, you would have loved to have been in this position. You would have loved to have been playing football as your job. And he has that. He's got the gift of that. He has been giving this 1 in a million opportunity to live his dream, right? To live our dream. And when I see this, and this is not the first time, I'm pretty sure I've seen this from previous clubs that he's been at on loan to, they have questioned his commitment. They have questioned his behaviour. And it's not good. It's not good. It could be the potential downfall for his, career. He may never become as big as people has expected him to be. At one point, he was the next big thing. and he's sort of fell by the wayside. We hardly ever even hear about him. I mean, if this didn't come up, I'd completely forgotten about Kendry Páez, which, to be fair, does happen to a lot of the young players that we do bring in, because we bring in so many. But it is disappointing from my perspective, and I'm sure from the player's perspective as well. If he's being told this by a coach, he will be disappointed himself. I'm sure he would be. And maybe the loan termination would be good, and we could send him maybe to an English team in a championship or something like that, maybe monitor him a little bit closer to home. But yeah, it's not a good look for the club to have, players like this on the book. It's not a good look for the player. Can he bounce back from it? Of course. He's still very young. He's still got the opportunity, but clearly he needs to get the right support system behind him. Even from a Chelsea perspective, we need to make sure that we are offering the right support system so he can, make the best of his career as he can. But get in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on this. If you have an opinion on this, love to hear your thoughts. But look, guys, that is all from me. Again, I've tried to cram a lot into this video, and it's not everything, right? We haven't even discussed the Cucurella news. There's the João Pedro, basically he's not going anywhere. There's still so much still to cover, and we're not even officially in the transfer window, right? I think June 15th, that's when it starts, if I'm not mistaken. Barcelona obviously don't abide by that rule. They can do whatever they like, but it's only going to ramp up. It's only going to heat up. I don't think particularly we'll see any big things happen while the World Cup's ongoing, because of course every player that we would want to be looking at hopefully is competing in the World Cup. They're going to be focused. That is what it is. So if you're expecting any big names to come before the World Cup, I don't see that happening, if you're even expecting any big names at all. But there will be noise, there will be rumours, and we will try to cover as much as humanly possible. But for now, guys, take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.